Everything we discussed regarding determining the diameter for the flexible penile implant is because, as we agreed, the flexible penile implant comes in various diameters. When I install this particular penile implant, I have to dilate to its diameter. I need to gradually widen to install it. I start with this size, then this, until I reach the required diameter for the flexible penile implant I will install. Size 13 widens up to 13, size 12 widens up to 12, and so on. That's why I am against the idea of preserving the cavernous tissue with the flexible penile implant. How will you preserve it if you have to dilate until you reach the penile implant? You are essentially widening. Let's assume the cavernous body is accommodating until it meets the penile implant, and the dilator is smoothly inside. If the dilator is smoothly inside, it means I have completely destroyed the tissue, leaving no intact tissue at all. The penile implant might be in place, but I cannot widen the body to this extent and then install a penile implant of this kind, as it won't fit because the expansion is not sufficient. Therefore, the idea of preserving the cavernous tissue with the flexible penile implant is entirely impossible. Why? Because when I insert a dilator of this size into the cavernous body and find it smoothly inside, this is the suitable penile implant. This means that it is wedged in, implying that it has destroyed the tissue around it. If I were to remove the penile implant, there would be a void that would be filled with fibrotic tissue. So there is nothing as tissue preservation, saying it a million times. But where does this apply? With the flexible penile implant, I need to dilate with this dilator to install this size. Each penile implant has its corresponding dilator size that needs to be reached. I can't have dilated with this dilator and then install this penile implant. I need to dilate with the specific dilator to install this penile implant. Where does this apply? With the flexible penile implant, not with the hydraulic penile implant. The story is completely different. The hydraulic penile implant is installed like this. There's no thickness, no diameter. I don't need to dilate. As soon as I dilate with a small dilator like this, I can easily insert it because it's empty. It doesn't have any diameter. If it ends like this, then with the hydraulic penile implant, I don't need to keep dilating until I insert a dilator of this size. It's enough for me to use this small size dilator to install the penile implant. That's why I am surprised. No, the flexible penile implant preserves the tissue and the hydraulic penile implant does not. How? When I insert this dilator into the cavernous body, which may have this diameter I just inserted, here I might leave a bit of tissue, nothing will happen. I'm not concerned and I'm not demanding that they preserve, but it's possible. What I can do with the hydraulic penile implant is impossible to do with the flexible penile implant. I have to insert a dilator of this size. So where is the preserved tissue? There's no tissue. This means what applies to the flexible penile implant doesn't apply to the hydraulic penile implant. With the hydraulic penile implant, I just need to insert a dilator like this. How am I going to insert this penile implant then? It's as I told you, it's hollow. How do we insert it? Through this needle. This is the needle that we use to insert the penile implant. The penile implant itself has a thread in the front. The hydraulic penile implant has a thread in the front. Why? To pull it up. During the procedure, we attach this thread to this needle. When you watch our videos on the hydraulic penile implant, you'll always see this scene repeated. So here, we are attaching the needle to the thread so that I can pull the penile implant. I insert the penile implant through this needle, and it's tied to this thread. How do we insert it then? Through a device called a furlough. If we assume this is the cavernous body, I insert the needle like this from the cavernous body and pull the penile implant until it enters the cavernous body, as you can see. So, I don't need to insert a large dilator. It's enough for me to have this needle inserted and this thread, and I can easily install the penile implant. Alright, the important thing is that we insert the penile implant in this way. After that, of course, when the penile implant is inflated, it starts filling the cavernous body, as you can see, with the diameter that I want. So with the hydraulic penile implant, I don't need to widen, even if the diameter is very large. I will be able to install the penile implant inside without widening to a great extent. Even if I need sizes 13, 14, or 15, I just need to widen with this small dilator only. I insert the penile implant through the needle and this thread, as you can see. Then I inflate it to the desired size, clear. So the hydraulic penile implant is installed, and then we remove the needle and the thread, and the penile implant remains inside the body. The difference in the installation method between the hydraulic penile implant and the flexible penile implant has become clear. So, with the hydraulic penile implant, I don't need to widen significantly. So, if we assume there is a penile implant that we can preserve tissue with, it would be the hydraulic penile implant, not the flexible penile implant. because the hydraulic penile implant is sufficient and I can install it with this degree of widening. But with the flexible penile implant, I have to keep widening until I reach the maximum diameter. I need to widen with dilators like this and sometimes even larger ones. It's not possible that I would preserve tissue while dilating with this penile implant, and I would preserve tissue while dilating with this one. There's no logic to suggest that this needle could damage the tissue, whereas this dilator does not.